Is your computer acting strange, slower than usual, fans spinning for no reason, or random pop-ups appearing out of nowhere? Here's the scary part. Modern malware is built to be invisible. It hides in plain sight, often pretending to be trusted system files like svchost.exe or explorer.exe. If you're relying on Windows Task Manager to catch it, you're already at a disadvantage. Task Manager just doesn't show enough detail to expose advanced threats. That's why today we're diving into Process Explorer, a powerful free tool from SICE internals. I'll show you 7 pro-level techniques to hunt malware hiding on your system. Number 7. Understanding the interface. Before we can hunt, we need to understand our weapon. When you first launch Process Explorer, it might look a bit overwhelming compared to the standard Task Manager, but that complexity is where the power lies. At number 7, we are starting with the foundation, the process tree and color coding. Unlike the standard flat list you might be used to, Process Explorer arranges everything in a parent-child relationship hierarchy. This is crucial because malware often launches from unexpected places. When you open the tool, you'll see a dazzling array of colors. These aren't just for show. Light purple indicates packed images, pink signifies services, and blue represents your own processes. Understanding these colors gives you immediate situational awareness. For instance, if you see a process highlighted in purple, it means the code is compressed or encrypted, a technique often used by legitimate software, but also a favorite of malware authors trying to hide their code signatures. To make this your permanent hunting ground, you'll want to replace your standard Task Manager. Go to the Options menu and select Replace Task Manager. Now, whenever you hit Ctrl plus Shift plus Escape, you'll have immediate access to this forensic powerhouse. Once you are comfortable with the view, you need to know how to spot the imposters hiding among the legitimate system files. This leads us directly to our next technique. Number 6. Verifying digital signatures. One of the easiest ways for malware to trick you is by naming itself something you trust. A file named chrome.exe looks harmless, right? But what if that file wasn't actually created by Google? At number 6, we have verifying digital signatures. This is your first line of defense against imposter processes. Every legitimate executable from a major vendor like Microsoft, Google, or Adobe is digitally signed. This signature is a cryptographic guarantee that the file originates from the vendor and hasn't been tampered with. By default, Process Explorer might not show this. You need to go to Options and select Verify Image Signatures. Now look at the columns. You should see a company name and a verified signer column. Here is what you are looking for, a process that claims to be from Microsoft Corporation in the description, but has unable to verify or no signature in the verified signer column. That is a massive red flag. Malware authors can easily change the file description to say Windows Update Service, but they cannot fake a valid cryptographic signature from Microsoft. If you see a system process running from System 32 without a valid signature, you have likely found your intruder. But what if the signature is valid, or the malware is injecting itself into a signed process? That requires a deeper look. If you are interested to see more tricks and tips, check this video in the corner. Number 5. Analyzing parent-child relationships. Now that we've checked the signatures, we need to look at the family tree. Malware doesn't just appear out of thin air, something has to launch it. Coming in at number 5 is analyzing parent-child relationships. This is arguably the most powerful visual feature of Process Explorer. In a healthy Windows environment, specific processes should always be spawned by specific parents. For example, services.exe should always be a child of wininit.exe. svchost.exe should always be a child of services.exe. If you see svchost.exe running as a child of explorer.exe, your desktop interface, that is highly suspicious. It implies that a user, or a script running as a user, started a service host process, which is not standard behavior. Another common anomaly is orphaned processes. If a parent process dies, the child typically remains. However, if you see a suspicious process floating alone without a logical parent, or if a browser process like iexplore.exe is running as a child of a Word document process, winword.exe, you are witnessing a classic malicious macro execution. The word doc spawned a browser to download a payload. Recognizing these broken lineages allows you to spot infection chains instantly, but sometimes you need the wisdom of the crowd to confirm your suspicions. Number 4. Leveraging the VirusTotal integration. You've found a process. It has a weird parent, and maybe the signature looks sketchy. You want a second opinion, or rather, 70 opinions. At number 4, we have the VirusTotal integration. This is a game changer for quick triage. VirusTotal is a database that aggregates dozens of antivirus engines and scans files and URLs. Process Explorer has this built right in. To activate it, go to Options, then virustotal.com, and select Check virustotal.com. The first time you do this, you'll need to agree to the terms of service. Once active, a new column appears on the right side of your window. Process Explorer sends the hash, the unique digital fingerprint, of every running executable to VirusTotal and returns the score. You'll see numbers like 0 out of 70, meaning 0 out of 70 engines flagged it. That's good. If you see 1 out of 70, it might be a false positive. But if you see red numbers, 5 out of 70, 20 out of 70, or higher, that process is almost certainly malicious. Clicking the number takes you directly to the report in your browser, where you can see exactly what the antivirus engines think it is. This saves you the time of manually uploading files. However, advanced malware, especially fileless malware, might not have a simple executable hash to scan. It might live entirely in memory. Number 3. Investigating DLLs and handles. Malware isn't always a standalone executable. Sometimes it hides as a parasitic library, quietly attached to a legitimate process. That's why number 3 is investigating DLLs and handles. A handle is simply a pointer to a system resource, files, registry keys, or network connections. A DLL is shared code that programs load when needed. Advanced malware abuses this through DLL injection, forcing clean apps like Notepad or Chrome to load malicious code. In Process Explorer, press Ctrl+D for the DLL view or Ctrl+H for handles, then select the suspicious process. Watch for DLLs loading from odd locations like app data or temp. In handles, look for strange mutexes. Random names often signal malware. This visibility goes far beyond Task Manager. Number 2. Monitoring network connections. If malware is on your system, it almost always has a mission: steal data, download extra payloads, or wait for commands from a command and control server. To do any of that, it needs the internet. That brings us to number 2, monitoring network connections. In Process Explorer, right-click a process, open Properties, and jump to the TCP/IP tab. You can also spot activity instantly by enabling the remote address columns in the main view. Now ask the obvious questions. Why is notepad.exe talking to an external IP? Why is a system process using a strange non-standard port? Process Explorer shows both local and remote addresses, revealing who your PC is really talking to. Catching these connections can expose a rat live in action. Number 1. Deep dive into strings and memory. We've reached the number 1 technique, reserved for the most stubborn, stealthy threats that appear completely clean and aren't making any active network connections. This is where you go full investigator mode, a deep dive into strings. Strings are readable bits of text hidden inside a program's binary, like URLs, file paths, registry keys, IP addresses, or even developer messages. To access them, right-click the suspicious process, open Properties, and head to the Strings tab. You'll see Image, what's stored on disk, and Memory, what's actually running in RAM. Comparing these is a pro move. If Image looks normal but memory is filled with random data or suspicious references, that's a classic sign of process hollowing. Strings expose what a process is really doing. And there you have it, 7 powerful ways to use Process Explorer to detect malware that standard tools miss. We've covered everything from visual color coding and digital signatures to deep memory string analysis. Remember, the goal here isn't to be paranoid about every background process, but to be aware and empowered. Security is a continuous learning process. By regularly checking your system with tools like this, you gain a baseline of what normal looks like. making the abnormal jump right off the screen. Stay curious, stay ethical, and keep your systems safe. Thanks for watching.